So top story, dude. Big story. One of the biggest news stories in wrestling, I would say, since the debut of AEW. I would say this is probably the biggest news story in pro wrestling.
I agree.
Is the downfall of Ring of Honor, and it's a sad story, man, because Ring of Honor has such a rich history. They've been around for damn near 20 years, like the same amount of time as TNA. Actually, they came out a little bit before TNA as like just a regular indie there on the East Coast, right? And then they were kind of at one point they were parallel, and then at one point Ring of Honor actually surpassed Impact, and they were the number 2 promotion in the country. And then now since AEW, well, and there's a lot of reasons as to why. I think a lot of people are pointing the fingers at AEW, but really, it started with NXT really pilfering all the talent, and then AEW was like, for me, that was like the final straw, I would say, or one of the final straws, because all the top talent all at the same time left to go start another promotion, and when that happens, man, that is brutal. And then it hasn't been great ever since.
Yeah, but that's on Sinclair, man. Like, they had the ability and the capability of making a Ring of Honor a top-notch number 2 promotion for years, and they just didn't. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I love Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor TV is a chore to get through. Even before the pandemic, it's out of date. Like, none of the storylines are really incongruent with what's going on. Like, you always, like, if you watch a show after a pay-per-view, it always takes place before the pay-per-view. Like, and it's very little storyline. It's just matches. Like, it's never been like a really good TV show, right? Like, Impact is a TV product. Right, the whole promotion revolves around the TV show. AEW, same thing. Ring of Honor wasn't, and like, it makes perfect sense. Like, they're paying multiple people 6-figure salaries, and they're not running shows. Like, at some point, the math doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have kind of come around on this. I think Ring of Honor could be okay, actually, and I'm gonna write something for the site about what the future of Ring of Honor could be.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm gonna go and say it's gonna be different for sure. Like, I think Ring of Honor is just gonna be the most how do I say this? The most viewed indie promotion in the country. And when I say that, I mean they're gonna run pretty much like GCW and PWG, and they're just gonna have shows, and that's okay. It sucks for the people that were making 6-figure contracts. They have to figure out life, but I mean, like, I think if Sinclair wants to, they can still pay people to come in for their monthly TV tapings, pretty good chunks of change, to just come in and do a show, and then that could work out. But at the same time, Sinclair's never really cared about the Ring of Honor show to begin with, so maybe not. I don't know. I've got complicated thoughts, and I'm going to put them on paper tomorrow. Who writes on paper? I'm going to write them on the computer.
Yeah. Sinclair's always kind of treated Ring of Honor as more of a tax write-off.
Pretty much.
And multi-billion-dollar corporations will do that. They'll buy like smaller companies like this, and then like for instance, Panda Energy did that with TNA originally. Yeah. Like, they had multiples of billions of dollars, and they found this little company to invest in, and they did it. And it was like they were just throwing millions of dollars into it, but they could just write it off as a tax write-off. Jarrett and Conrad Thompson both said that was part of the reason why they got into it.
Companies got to spend money, man.
Yeah.
They have to show that they're spending money, or else they owe a lot more in taxes. So yeah. I mean, like, that's the truth. The problem, Panda, I mean, say what you want about the history of this company, right? But Panda's at least put effort into running Impact, right? Say what you want about Anthem. They're putting effort into running Impact. Sinclair puts zero effort into really running Ring of Honor. They did a great job during the pandemic, but I mean, they don't care. Other than, that's the weird thing, is financially they competed, right, to sign talent. They spent a lot of money to keep guys under contract. They really did. But how do they plan on getting their investment back when they aren't selling out shows, when they weren't running shows with fans, they weren't doing well on pay-per-view, they weren't doing a good job promoting their pay-per-view? The financial structure doesn't make sense, especially when they decided they don't want to compete with AEW, like really compete with them. Like, they'll compete with them for talent, but they won't figure out a way how to maximize that talent. It's bizarre. And when you really think about the business structure of Ring of Honor, it can't possibly work.
No, not unless Sinclair was willing to get serious, because and put them on a nationally broadcast cable station. They're on all these regional networks, and they're on
that they own.
that they own, but sometimes they're on at like 3 a.m, and then
Yep.
other cities are on at 8 o'clock at night. There's other cities where they're a stronger station where like right after SmackDown, right?
Oh,
They're being promoted during SmackDown, and they're on that same Fox station. They're playing over the weekend, but
we have the polar opposite in Chicago. We don't have any Sinclair stations in Chicago, so
right,
we don't get Ring of Honor. And Chicago was a good market for us for Ring of Honor. But
yeah,
all you get the internet, you get
Mhm.
Fight. So I mean, like, it's so weird. Like Sinclair had that. If you recall, a few years ago, Sinclair tried to buy WGN, which is the biggest independent station in America.
Yeah.
The legendary superstation run out of Chicago.
It was it
Does
was
not have a
Chicago's version of TBS.
TBS, exactly.
Yeah.
I wrote a thing for WrestleJoy talking about how TBS had as one of the things. TBS had WCW, Crockett, whatever you want to call it, for years and years and years, and WGN had the Bozo Show,
Yeah.
right? And how we did not have a true independent, like not independent, we didn't have a true territory in Chicago. Like we were the bastard stepchild of the AWA and the WWA, and it was weird. I'll get into that at some point. But yeah, so that would have made Sinclair a lot of money, and the government actually did its job and said too powerful, you cannot do that. So it seems like Sinclair instead bought up a bunch of those Fox regional stations and has taken an absolute bath on it. Like Sinclair,
Dude, it's bad.
Sinclair might not make it as an entity. And I don't want to see anyone go out of business, and stations don't shut down. Someone will pick things up, but
Yeah.
boo-hoo, they're a fucking vile corporation. So whatever, man. One reason I want to talk about this is because I don't think it's crazy to say Impact has to pay attention to this, because this could be the future. In fact, this has been the future of every single professional wrestling company save one in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the business model going forward with Ring of Honor, they, like you said, they're going to be mirroring essentially what GCW is doing. And I think that they take a look, they can take a step back and they can look at what GCW is doing without a TV deal, with no television whatsoever. They're just streaming their stuff on the internet and on Fight TV, and they're able to access AEW talent, New Japan talent. They're bringing in Impact talent, and they're able to sell a lot of tickets that way. And seemingly, I assume they're selling a decent amount of pay-per-views because they're continuing to bring in bigger names and sell more and more tickets. So I think Ring of Honor takes a step back and they look at that and it's like, look, none of those guys are on contract. They're all just kind of making money per show. Like, why are we, why are we can sustain just like that. We can do what they're doing and probably even do it better because we've been doing it longer. And so I see that them taking a step back, looking at that, and seeing what they're going through, and it's like, okay,
PWG runs a show every 3 months in a small building, and they sell Blu-rays and DVDs, and they make it work to an extent. I mean, it's like the hottest, coolest ticket in the country, to go to PWG show. So there are models they can survive. Brian Alvarez crunched some math today and took Roosh, for example. Like Roosh was making, like I said, 120 grand a year, so that's like $3,000 a month, right? Something like that. And if they were to say, hey, Roosh, come in for a television taping this month, we'll pay you $5,000. They're actually saving money, right? Or it's like $3,000 a week, whatever is they're paying. They're actually saving money. So they could actually have the wrestler, the same talent, brought in on a monthly basis, similar to what we're doing with Impact with some of our players, pay them a really good rate if they wanted to, and produce a good show. They just wouldn't have the security and the comfort of a salary, right? It's something more akin to what wrestling was in the 80s. If I'm a talent, I'm like, well, I'm going to try to go to AEW or WWE, but this is the worst part about this is the timing's really bad. Like 2 years ago, if this had happened, I think everyone gets scooped up by somebody. Now WWE wants to develop their own talent, and AEW can't sign everybody, which leaves Impact.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and I have two names. I took a look at the list of the talent from Ring of Honor, and I kind of had like in my head placed, which talents I think would fit in which company. And I think somebody from Fight Game might actually be doing an article about that here pretty soon. But I looked at it and I was like, immediately there was a couple of names that stuck out to me that I think that made perfect sense, like no brainers. The first two names, they're older talents, but they have such a deep history with Impact. It's EC3 and Jay Lethal.
Yeah, I agree.
I could see both. Like I think that's a no brainer. I don't see them going to AEW. I know Lethal does have his support in AEW, but he's got some allegations out there, man. I don't think AEW wants to touch that, and Impact doesn't seem to give a fuck. So I could
They give titles. We give
yeah.
titles to guys with allegations. You have allegations, here's a belt.
Yeah, yeah. So I could see Lethal and EC3 right away coming in. And then taking a look more, I think Shane Taylor and his crew, maybe just Shane Taylor, coming to Impact. And I was
Man, I like that crew.
yeah, that's a cool crew, man.
I like that crew, man.
I like that crew. I like that crew working for Moose though. Somebody was like, "Oh, we could bring it. They could bring in Shane Taylor, and then Moose could join up with Shane Taylor." It was like, got to be the other way around. As much as I like Shane Taylor, he didn't touch Moose.
Yeah, I'm a big Shane Taylor fan.
I like him, man. He's
yeah.
good. But
I think the ideas. I think they're both alphas, and two alphas cannot exist together. They just eat too much space up between them.
Yeah.
I agree. If you bring in the crew would have. I like the idea of the crew with Moose. Shane Taylor Promotions, but I mean, you can't have Shane Taylor and Moose. No,
you don't think so?
Not together.
Yeah,
like in the same spot.
I think
who's going to play? Who's going? I don't think Shane Taylor wants to play B Guy to Moose. And I don't think Shane Taylor should play B Guy to Moose.
I think Moose is Moose would be the alpha in that scenario. As much as I like Shane Taylor, he is Moose is just levels above as far as I think as far as like physical charisma, not only just the look, and that's more of a body thing, but and ability in the ring. I put Moose above Shane Taylor, and he just Moose looks like a star.
Moose looks like a star. Moose looked great tonight in the ring with the suit, holding the title. Moose looked great. Oh, yeah. I actually think Shane Taylor's a better promo than Moose. Moose cut some good promos tonight, but I think Shane Taylor just he speaks from the heart. I think he captures, like for me anyway, captures my attention a little bit more. I know Shane Taylor has that we'll call it an old school body, where I think that I could see why people would say, well, Shane Taylor would have to be beneath a Moose. I don't think Shane Taylor would want to be beneath a Moose. So, I mean, I think that would be an ego clash, and I could see that not working. But then again, man might want a job. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He likes money, right?
Yeah, everyone likes money.
That's the gig. And I think that he can make money being in a group with Moose or being in a crew.
See, I think those guys actually fit better in AEW. But again, AEW can't sign everybody.
We think that, but they just brought in Tony Nese, and that was like one of the guys like, AEW can't sign him. They can't sign everybody. Well, they're proving people wrong.
That is not a head scratcher because he's talented. I don't know what you do with Tony Nese, but we don't do that show. So
no, yeah. And then people were saying Mike and Maria and Matt Taven, they're bringing in the Kingdom. Man, Kingdom looks like an NWA act to me.
Yeah, and didn't Mike and Maria and she kind of bragged about lying on her way out of this company. And it wasn't like they left the Dixie Rant company. They left the Anthem run Impact, and it didn't sound fantastic. It sounded like they kind of fudged a lot of stuff on their way out. I don't know if there's heat residually, but the Bennett sure are controversial. Yeah. So I don't know, nothing would surprise me. But I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I look at them and I'm like, decently talented fellows. I just don't see them in Impact. I definitely don't see them in AEW. No New Japan there. Maybe MLW. Matt Taven and Bennett could fit in MLW, or like I said, NWA, or do both, because
I agree.
NWA and MLW both, they're kind of in a similar situation. They're not really signing people up to contracts. In fact, MLW just released 3 people, and I could see them releasing more here soon, and going away from actually keeping people under contract and giving them locking them in, because I think that's hurting them more than helping them, honestly.
I agree with you 100%. Especially as we've seen a lot of those contracts. I'm not going to comment on the contract status of Major League Wrestling, but I will say that boy, their contracted people sure do show up other places a lot.
Well, and not only that, like their contracts are such that they're getting a bad rap publicly by guys like Joey
by me.
Janela. No, but by guys like Joey Janela and other people that have worked there.
That's true.
They're coming out against, like, they're actively publicly telling people not to sign with that company under contract. And that's why you saw Bobby Fish go there and work a date, and they were able to bring in Bobby Fish, but Bobby wasn't going to sign a contract with those guys. The same with Lee Moriarty, right? Like, literally, when they announced that Lee Moriarty was going there, the first thing Larry Dallas did was says, if you sign a contract there, me and I call him Pineapple Pete, but I think his name Sugar Dunkerton. And other people were saying, do not sign there, do not sign. Like, this is all on Twitter, like publicly, right? So it's very common knowledge that the contracts that you get there, if you're a talent on the up and coming, is not the best. You're going to get a little bit of exposure, but you're not going to get a ton of dough. And so I think that it would, behoove MLW just to be bringing talents in for random dates and try to lock them in for a few dates, as opposed to, preventing them from going to work other people places, because people aren't going to want to go there because of that, right?
So back in the day, St. Louis, the St. Louis territory was just one town, and Sam Mushnick would just bring in guys for shows, right? And he promoted his stuff like the most St. Louis Wrestling of the Chase, the most sports-based presentation in the history of wrestling, right? They played it as a shoot. If you watch the promos, they aren't wild and over the top. Even Brody, it's a little bit more subdued there. And it was a place where people just came in and came out, right? They were kind of like, in a way, kind of like a PWG, right? Where you would just kind of host super shows, but I mean, like, you bring in the best talent knew they're going to be treated well because he was president of the NWA. People got paid well, had big shows, moved on, right? I think that places like MLW and maybe even Ring of Honor should do that. Like, this idea of signing people to contracts that, one, upset, that give you a bad reputation within the talent world, and really don't do anything to help anybody. Like, it may help them book a future, but I mean, maybe they need to be more flexible, right? These places need to be more flexible if they're not going to give guys real contracts. Or if you do give a contract to people, maybe just sign your champions to contracts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's new ways that things like this can work out. I mean, who else do you think could be impact bound from these Ring of Honor releases?
I want to say the Briscoes, but I see the Briscoes going AEW. I know that they got some controversy in their past too. I think that AEW could probably work through that. FTR is already publicly, kind of asking for that. I don't see Bandito, and if they did, I don't think they would use Bandito properly.
They don't use their luchadors very well. They don't.
And so if I'm Bandito, I stay independent, honestly. And same with Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee is probably more of a New Japan guy.
Dragon Lee's A-okay.
Yeah, he's got his New Japan money, and he's one of the weirdos that can work both CMLL and Triple.
He's like the one.
Yeah.
It's pretty much Dragon Lee, and he'll probably try to drag his brother, not the one that conveniently got hurt before all this shook out, but the other one with the mysterious name, who I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's changed it a couple times. So yeah, I don't see those guys there for sure. Excuse me, who's a talent I think Impact would be good with? Eli Isom.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I could see that. I
think he would fit in very well here. And I think that he's young, he's really talented, and it's a guy that I think like a Trey Miguel, right, that could make a name for himself in Impact. And I think if that guy goes to AEW, he gets lost in the shuffle. Mm-hmm. I think in place like Impact, and Eli Isom could keep moving on up because he's gotten really good at a time when people really aren't paying as much attention to Ring of Honor, but he's super talented, and I think he could fit in really well on this roster.
Cool. Roxy, what do you think?
If she's not signed by somebody tomorrow, they're making a mistake. She's a prodigy, man. She's 19 years old, right? Say what you want about Booker T and his bad takes. The man trains some pretty good wrestlers.
Yeah, he does, man. He's a fantastic trainer.
Like Sammy Guevara is really good. Roxy is really good. If you got talent, that's it. Like, most of these schools don't pump out that kind of talent immediately. Like, he's got a lot of good people that have come through his school. So
the Usos.
The Usos, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Kylie Ray.
Forgot about Kylie Ray.
Yeah, the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, he's a good trainer, man. AEW, they should be all over her. Impact should go, hey, they're the knockouts division. You could be the future of our division. Come over here. WWE should be all over her because she's a kid and she's better than anyone in NXT who's not named Io Shirai.
Yeah. Yeah,
I said it. I'll stand by it.
Yeah. No, she's I did not know much about her, and then I saw her match with Miranda Alizé, and I've seen Miranda Alizé on Impact before, and I'll
Mhm.
be honest, when she was on Impact, I wasn't that impressed. And then
Seconded.
okay, so but then I saw them have this
It
match,
was
and
awesome.
it was the best match on that card.
I
And
100%.
yeah, and I didn't even think that it was close. I didn't think anybody was close as far as having a match on that card.
Mhm.
And Ring of Honor matches are usually pretty good. Now, here's the one guy that I think is going to be one of the most interesting talent free agents to come out of this situation, because I think he could fit into so many places, man. He's got connections everywhere, and I think he fits in actually everywhere except for WWE, and that's Jonathan Gresham.
I agree
Um,
100%.
I think that Impact would be foolish not to make a play for him and bring him in. He is perfect for the X division. He reminds me, he's got I know he was the pure champion for a while, and I think they were pushing the Ring of Honor was going to make him
He
the
was,
world
yeah,
champion.
that was what they were aiming for. It looked like it was going to be Gresham and Bandito at Final Battle. It still could be, but
I think that it
yeah,
still will be. I think that's the match that you make there. But I would love to see Gresham come in and work with Trey Miguel and those guys in the X division, and then eventually go up to that heavyweight division. I know he's got to be 5'5" or whatever, or 190 pounds. But brother can work, man. He is
he's so
awesome.
good.
Yeah,
He's so good. I think
fantastic.
that Jonathan Gresham is the best wrestler not in WWE, AEW, or Impact. I don't think that's a controversial statement either. Like
No, no,
he's that good.
in North America,
In yeah, because nothing's going on in Canada. Yeah, in North America,
right?
he is that good. Of course, his wife is here, but that
Mhm.
could be a reason for him not to come, right? Because I think that's the guy that Tony Khan probably goes, all right, here's some money,
Yeah,
right? So I mean, Impact would have to pay, but it turns out there's some open spots that we assumed a week ago were going to be filled that aren't filled right now. So maybe
yeah,
they do.
yeah. You want to go ahead and get into that, man, or do you have any other ideas?
I
Ring of
got
Honor?
one more for you.
Okay.
Dan Hausen.
He fits with Impact and like with the silly shit that they do. And he's an interesting guy. He's an entertaining guy. I could see him, doing skits with Johnny Swinger and Decay and the Kiss Demon and all those guys. As long as he never wrestles, I like Danhausen. I think he's funny.
I like Danhausen too. I think he's a better wrestler than people give him credit for, but he does the gimmick. So I mean,
Yeah,
like he performs the gimmick. I think he could fit anywhere. I actually think he is the most ubiquitous performer on that roster. Aside from Jonathan Gresham, who's just fucking awesome. I think he could go. I think he would fit perfectly in WWE. The problem is they would try to make him. They would try to like remake him in their image, and
hmm
that doesn't work. Like I think he made a lot of friends over the weekend on that cruise ship. So it
yes,
wouldn't surprise me if we saw
yeah,
him in AEW. But I have a friend who I'm not going to name names, made a strong case for why Danhausen is a perfect fit for Impact, and even wrote up. I think he might be listening. He even wrote up how you make Danhausen work. I mean,
I want to see this.
I can't. I'm on.
I,
He
I'm a
doesn't give
trusted
me.
I'm a trusted agent. Just float my name to him. I'm a trusted agent. I would love to see this. Yeah.
Yes, I may. I don't know. I am neither. I can neither confirm nor deny that I have said things in my possession. No, but I think that and this is the most intriguing person to me
Yeah.
because I know Danhausen, the meme wrestling thing got really popular when AEW got going, and then like the arms race started.
Yeah.
Right, the arms race is officially over. Right, that guy became the most popular wrestler on the indies. Again, part of it was because like there was an opening and a vacancy, right? And every chance that Danhausen has gotten to expand his name and his presence, that dude has just taken the ball and ran with it. Like he was on a Conan O'Brien podcast as himself, and he won Conan O'Brien over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like someone like a Warhorse, who also got a lot of like buzz in his wake, in his direction, showed up on one episode of Dynamite and kind of got exposed as being not ready for
hmm
prime time, and it really hurt him, I think,
It
because he
did.
has not been nearly as popular. But again, a couple years ago, when you had Dan the Dad and like the Alley Cat and all these like ridiculous meme guys, Orange Cassidy's the one that got signed, and he's proven to be a valuable commodity. But Danhausen has really made a name for himself, and I think that any of them made. The only place he doesn't fit is New Japan, because I don't think that translates over there at all. But I think anywhere here in the States, I think that guy could fit in anywhere. And if I'm Impact, I think he fits perfectly in this company.
Yeah, Impact loves silly shit, man, and
Love it.
and the guy's over. The guy has like a legitimate fan base.
Yes.
He does really good. He does really well on Cameo of all things.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Cornette likes Danhausen.
Jim freaking Cornette likes Danhausen.
Yeah,
He doesn't like anything.
No.
He likes Danhausen.
Yeah, yeah,
John LaRocca likes Danhausen. Like,
yeah.
everybody likes. He is like. There's just something that everyone should hate. Like, I feel like guys like us that like the serious more side of pro wrestling should all hate Danhausen. But he's too funny. Like, it works. He is legitimately funny.
Yeah.
So like his
Johnny
stupid
Finger.
stuff fits.
Mhm.
And it can really fit well in this company if certain writers don't try to write for him and just let him be himself.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's
Mr. Jacobs.
perfect. Yeah, I honestly do think that he's perfect for Impact. I did see that some folks had maybe thought that he would be in AEW. I could see him appearing in AEW. I don't know that he'd be a recurring character there because they do like to. Well, I don't know. I said that they like to be more serious, but then they just had that Ghostbusters.
I just watched the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, which I don't want to get into that, but I think me and Paul Fontaine are on the same side there.
I didn't like it, but I mean, like
I like the page spot.
The page spot was cool, and that's all you're gonna remember. I mean, like once a year they're gonna do something really stupid at Halloween, but they were doing that in New Japan too. So I mean, that's just the elite guys. I mean, I don't love it, but if you hated the Ghostbusters thing, don't actually watch what Kenny Omega did in New Japan at Halloween. So
no.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn, I keep remembering names. So one of the names sticks out. Brody King.
Oh my God, Brody King's freaking awesome. He's so good.
He's a main event guy in WWE if they don't fuck him up, right? Like they would try. He works too hard.
They're fucking up Keith Lee as we speak.
Dude, his matches are too good, and they'd be like, dial that back, homie. You know what I mean?
At some point, I'm gonna get my hands on these PWG DVDs and see the tag team with him and Malachi Black, because on paper that sounds fantastic. Mm-hmm. Like that's something I need to watch. That is a guy that I think everybody should be fighting over. I mean, Moose and Brody King.
Money.
Come on, man.
Money.
Come on, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Brody King's freaking awesome.
I don't think Impact signs that many of these guys. I'm taking maybe like a few, but I do see them because of their love of freelance wrestlers. I do see them bringing them in for tapings here and there.
And I think they should. I think more companies, if they're not, here's the thing. If you can't be AEW or WWE and sign guys to long-term comfortable contracts, you need to just pay guys a good rate to come in, dude, because Impact does a week of tapings. You can get a full month with a character and move them on. We're doing it with Minoru Suzuki right now. Like, they should do that. If they can't bring in, let's say Roosh, right? Permanently. Bring in Roosh for a couple weeks and have him put someone over on the way. I can't even finish that sentence without laughing.
That's not happening. Yeah.
Put someone over. That's a joke.
Put him over strong with
make him look good.
Yeah, Bandito beat him, but he was kicking out at the same time.
Hey, so does Bobby Fish apparently. So Bobby Fish had to look strong for some reason. Yeah, but there's so much. Here's the problem: is there's so much good talent on that roster that you keep going, oh yeah, that guy's there. Oh yeah, that guy's there. Ring of Honor had a scary roster that nobody was really paying attention to because like the TV show hasn't been good for the last year.
Yeah.
Plus, longer than that. Going back to when the AEW started. Yeah, it's been bad for a while.
Since AEW has begun, I have not been a fan of Ring of Honor. I quit watching the weekly show a long time ago, but when the big shows would come on, and I had a Friday night, and I was available, and their pay-per-views aren't that expensive, and I would jump in on those on Fight TV. So
wrestling's always good. The wrestling has always been good in Ring of Honor.
The TV show I just never got into. It's been a long time, so it wasn't part of my routine.
Because it doesn't matter. And when you tell your audience something doesn't matter, they listen to you.
Absolutely, man. So let's go ahead and get into our